Aria Bennett had spent most of her life surviving. At 26, survival was the only thing she truly understood. Every morning began the same way. Wake up, check the unpaid bills stacked on the kitchen table, make breakfast for her younger brother, smile, even when she didn't feel like smiling, because Ethan depended on her. Ever since their parents died in a car accident 7 years earlier, Aria had become everything to him, his sister, his guardian, his family. She worked double shifts as a bartender in one of the city's roughest neighborhoods just to keep the lights on. But lately, even that wasn't enough. Hospital bills kept arriving, medication became more expensive every month, and Ethan's condition continued getting worse. Some nights she lay awake staring at the ceiling, wondering how much longer she could keep pretending everything would be okay. That afternoon she visited the hospital before work. Ethan sat on the bed with a comic book in his hands. Despite everything, he still smiled the moment he saw her. "You look tired." Aria forced a laugh. "I work too much. You worry too much." She sat beside him and gently ruffled his hair. "You sound like the older sibling." "I practically am." She smiled for a few precious minutes. They forgot about hospitals, forgot about sickness, forgot about money. Before leaving, Aria kissed his forehead. "I'll come back tomorrow. You always do. I always will." That night the bar overflowed with noise. Music thundered through the speakers. Glasses clinked endlessly. Laughter echoed from every corner. Aria moved from customer to customer with practiced ease. Then the front door opened. The room seemed to quiet itself. A man stepped inside. Expensive charcoal suit, silver watch, perfectly polished shoes, cold grey eyes, the kind of man who looked like he owned every building on the street. Victor Ashcroft. He chose the darkest corner of the bar, ordered a whiskey, nothing else. Something about him made everyone instinctively keep their distance. Even the loudest customers lowered their voices. Aria carried the drink over. "Your whiskey." The man didn't touch it. Instead, he slid a thick envelope across the counter. Her heartbeat slowed. "What is this?" "Open it." She hesitated, then carefully lifted the flap. Inside, a photograph. A man. Dark hair, piercing blue eyes, a perfectly tailored black suit, dangerously handsome. Beneath the photograph, one number, $10 million. Aria nearly dropped everything. "What is this?" The stranger smiled. "A job." Her stomach tightened. "What kind of job?" He leaned closer, his voice barely rose above a whisper. "Kill him." Silence. Aria stared at the photograph again. The name beneath it read, Damien Valmont, one of the city's most feared men. The stranger calmly took another sip of whiskey. Half now. A second envelope landed on the counter. Cash. More money than Aria had ever seen in one place. Half when he's dead. She should have walked away. She should have thrown the money back into his face. She should have called the police. Instead, her thoughts drifted to Ethan, his medicine, his surgeries, his future. The stranger quietly stood. "I'll contact you in 3 days." He walked away without another word, leaving both envelopes behind. Aria stared at the money for what felt like hours. Then, with trembling hands, she picked it up, because desperation makes ordinary people consider impossible choices. 3 days later, the first payment arrived in her bank account, enough to cover Ethan's treatment for months. She cried alone inside her apartment, not because she was happy, because she hated herself. For weeks, Aria studied Damien Valmont, every movement, every routine. She told herself it was only information, only preparation, only work. She prayed she'd find the monster everyone described, because monsters were easier to kill. She learned everything, or at least she thought she did. Every newspaper described him the same way. Ruthless, untouchable, merciless, a man who ruled the city's underworld without ever raising his voice. Yet, the man Aria secretly watched didn't seem to match those stories. One afternoon, she watched Damien stop his black car beside an elderly woman struggling with heavy grocery bags. His bodyguards looked confused. He ignored them. He carried the bags himself, walked her safely across the street, accepted no thanks, then quietly drove away. Another evening, she followed him to a private children's hospital. He entered through the back entrance. No cameras, no reporters, no publicity. An hour later, a nurse hugged him with tears in her eyes. A little boy waved happily from a hospital window. Only after Damien left did Aria overhear the nurses talking. "He paid for every surgery. He does this every year. He never lets anyone know." Aria sat inside her parked car for a long time, confused. Nothing made sense anymore. How could the same man newspapers called a monster secretly save children? Still, she reminded herself, good men didn't build criminal empires. There had to be another side she hadn't seen. So she kept watching. Days turned into weeks. Weeks became months. Soon, she knew his favourite cafe, his favourite bookstore, the quiet park where he sometimes fed pigeons before sunrise, even the small Italian restaurant where he always ordered the exact same meal. Without realising it, she had memorised pieces of his life. One evening, fate finally stepped in. Aria hurried toward a bookstore, trying to escape the pouring rain. As she pushed open the door, she collided with someone, books scattered across the sidewalk. "Oh, I'm so sorry." She stopped. Damien Valmont, her target. Panic rushed through her. Had he recognized her? Had she been caught? Instead, Damien crouched down. One by one, he picked up her books and handed them back carefully. "You okay?" His voice was calm, gentle, nothing like the cold monster she expected. Their eyes met, only for a second. Aria forced herself to smile. "I am fine." Damien nodded. "Good." Then he simply walked away. No suspicion, no questions, nothing. She stood frozen long after he disappeared into the rain. Her heartbeat refused to slow. That should have been the end. Instead, it was only the beginning. 3 days later, she saw him again, at a small coffee shop. He noticed her first. "The bookstore," she blinked. "You remembered me?" He gave the faintest smile. "You dropped the same poetry book twice." She laughed despite herself. "I guess I'm clumsy." "So am I." She looked at him. "I don't believe that." For some reason, his smile widened just a little. "People usually don't stick around long enough to notice." They shared coffee, only 15 minutes. Nothing personal, nothing dangerous. At least, that's what Aria kept telling herself. The third meeting happened in the city park. The fourth, at another bookstore. The fifth, outside an art gallery. Each encounter seemed accidental. Each conversation lasted a little longer. Each goodbye became a little harder. Soon, Damien found himself looking around crowded streets, searching for a familiar face. Without realizing it, he had begun hoping she'd appear. Aria hated herself for feeling the same. Every smile he gave her made the gun hidden inside her apartment feel heavier. Every laugh they shared made the $10 million feel dirtier. Every kind thing he did made pulling the trigger feel impossible. One evening, Damien invited her to dinner. Nothing expensive, nothing extravagant, just a quiet little restaurant overlooking the river. Candles flickered softly between them. They talked about themselves, not the weather, not books, themselves. "I lost my parents when I was 19, Damien admitted quietly. Aria looked up. "I'm sorry." So was I. A faint smile crossed his face. "They always believed I'd become someone good." A pause. "I still wonder if they'd recognize the man I've become." Aria's heart tightened. She had expected arrogance. Instead, she found regret, loneliness, a sadness carefully hidden behind confidence. She almost asked him the question that haunted her. "Are you really the monster everyone says you are?" But she couldn't, because part of her was afraid of the answer. That night, as Damien drove her home, neither wanted the evening to end. The rain had stopped. The city lights reflected across the wet streets. Before she stepped out of the car, he spoke. "I enjoyed tonight." Aria smiled. "So did I." Their eyes met again, longer this time. Neither noticed. A black SUV parked across the street, watching. Inside, Victor Ashcroft's men photographed everything, every smile, every glance, every moment. Then quietly drove away. Straight back to Victor. Far away, Victor looked through the photographs one by one, then smiled. Not with happiness. With satisfaction. Perfect. He leaned back in his chair. "They're falling in love." One of his men frowned. "Isn't that a problem?" Victor laughed softly. "No. It makes my plan even better." He placed Damien's photograph beside Aria's. "When the time comes, the deeper they fall, the harder he'll break." Aria barely slept that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Damien smiling across the dinner table. Every time she opened them, she saw the gun hidden inside her drawer. She was falling in love with the man she had been paid to kill. The next morning, her phone vibrated. One message. "Meet me." No signature. None was needed. Victor Ashcroft. The abandoned warehouse felt colder than usual. Victor stood beside the window, watching the rain. Without turning around, he asked, "How's Damien?" Aria stiffened. I don't know what you mean. Victor smiled. You've had dinner. Silence. You've had coffee. Another pause. You've even started smiling. Aria's blood ran cold. You've been watching me? Victor finally turned. I watch everything. He tossed several photographs onto the table. Pictures of her. Pictures of Damien. Pictures of them laughing together. Victor chuckled. You make a beautiful couple. His smile disappeared. But that's not why I hired you. Aria swallowed hard. I need more time. Victor stepped closer. No, I've given you months. I want Damien dead. He leaned close enough for her to smell his expensive cologne. And if you can't do it? His voice became deadly calm. He slid another photograph toward her. This time, it wasn't Damien. It was her younger brother, leaving the hospital, completely alone. Victor tapped the picture. Nice kid. Aria's hands began shaking. Don't touch him. Victor smiled. Then don't disappoint me. She left the warehouse barely able to breathe. That evening, Damien called. I was wondering. He hesitated. Would you like to come somewhere with me? She almost said no. She should have. Instead, she whispered, okay. An hour later, they stood on the rooftop of the tallest building in the city. The skyline stretched endlessly before them. Thousands of lights shimmered below. A cool breeze lifted Aria's hair. Damien rested his arms on the railing. This is my favorite place. Aria smiled softly. Why? He stared at the city. For a long moment, he didn't answer. Then quietly said, because up here, nobody expects anything from me. She looked at him. What do you mean? He laughed softly. Down there. He pointed toward the city. I'm Damien Valmont, the man everyone fears, the man nobody truly knows. Another pause. But up here. I'm just, he searched for the word, me. For the first time, Aria saw the loneliness hiding behind his confidence. It wasn't an act. It wasn't manipulation. He was genuinely alone. She stepped beside him. Neither spoke. The silence felt strangely comforting. After several minutes, Damien asked quietly, what about you? She blinked. What about me? What makes you happy? Nobody had asked her that in years. She searched for an answer. Finally, she smiled. My brother. He always does. Damien smiled too. You love him. More than anything. She nodded. He only has me. Damien looked at the skyline again. I understand. My parents were all I had. They're gone now. Another silence. Neither realized they were quietly healing parts of each other. The wind grew stronger. Aria shivered. Without thinking, Damien removed his coat. He gently placed it around her shoulders. You'll freeze. She looked up at him. You'll be cold. I've survived worse. Her heart betrayed her. She smiled. A real smile. The kind she hadn't worn in years. Damien couldn't stop looking at her. You know, he said softly, you have the most beautiful smile. Aria quickly looked away. Nobody had ever told her that before. For one dangerous moment, she almost confessed everything. The money, the contract, the lies, everything. Instead, she remained silent and hated herself for it. Days passed. They spent more time together. Coffee became lunch. Lunch became long evening walks. Long walks became quiet drives through the city. Damien found himself laughing more. His bodyguards noticed. One of his oldest bodyguards finally smiled. We haven't seen you this happy in years, boss. Damien simply looked out the window, neither confirming nor denying it. Aria changed too. She laughed again. She slept better. She stopped feeling completely alone. For the first time in years, life felt normal. And that terrified her, because every time Damien smiled, she remembered the gun waiting inside her apartment. The gun still meant for him. One evening, as Damien drove her home, he parked outside her apartment. Neither reached for the door. Neither wanted to leave. Finally, Damien spoke. Can I ask you something? She nodded. Anything. He smiled nervously. Something she'd never seen before. Would you... He laughed quietly at himself. Like to have dinner with me tomorrow? She smiled. I thought that's what we've been doing, he chuckled. No, I mean, a real date. Aria's heart stopped. A date. She had never expected those words. Tears almost filled her eyes. Not because she was happy, because she knew she didn't deserve this. Still, she whispered, I'd love to. As she stepped out of the car, Damien watched her disappear into her building. A small smile remained on his face. Across the street, a black SUV sat in the shadows. Victor Ashcroft lowered a pair of binoculars. He had seen everything, the smiles, the laughter, the invitation. He slowly lit a cigar, then smiled to himself. Good. He looked at one of his men. It's time. The man frowned. For what? Victor's smile became cruel. To remind Aria who she really works for. The following evening, Aria never made it to dinner. Instead, Victor's men dragged her into an abandoned warehouse. Victor Ashcroft stood waiting. His patience had disappeared. You've had enough time. Aria's breathing became uneven. I can't do it. Victor smiled. Oh, you can. He pulled a pistol from his coat, then casually placed it on the table. Tonight, you either kill Damien, or your brother dies before sunrise. Aria felt her world collapse. She left the warehouse in tears. For hours, she wandered the empty streets, searching for a way out. There wasn't one. She couldn't kill Damien. She couldn't sacrifice her brother. For the first time in her life, she felt completely trapped. That night, she made a decision. She would tell Damien everything. Even if he hated her forever, he deserved the truth. She rushed to his mansion. Rain poured relentlessly. Thunder echoed overhead. She reached the gates, but before she could enter, gunfire exploded across the estate. Victor had attacked first. Black SUVs crashed through the front gates. Explosions shook the grounds. Damien's men returned fire immediately. Within seconds, the entire estate became a battlefield. Aria ran inside, searching desperately. Damien. Nobody answered. Only gunfire. Smoke. Smoke. Chaos. She finally found him inside the main hall. His suit was stained with blood, not his own. Several of Victor's men already lay defeated around him. When Damien saw her, he froze. She burst into tears. I'm sorry. So sorry. He looked at her quietly. What happened? Before she could answer, Victor entered, slowly clapping. Beautiful. He smiled at Damien. You really did trusted her. Damien's jaw tightened. Victor laughed. You really thought she loved you? He took another slow step forward. A cruel smile spread across his face. Every smile she gave you had a price. Aria shook her head violently. No. Victor ignored her. You weren't the love of her life, Damien. You were her assignment. Silence. Aria looked at Damien, terrified, waiting for him to believe those words. Instead, Damien simply looked back at her. His expression remained calm, but behind his eyes she saw something else. Not doubt, not anger, only fear that Victor's lies would destroy the love they had built together. Victor frowned. Why aren't you saying anything? Damien slowly answered. Because I already know. Victor blinked. What? Damien never looked away from Aria. I knew she was sent to kill me, from the first day we met. Aria stopped breathing. What? Tears filled her eyes. You knew? Damien nodded slowly. I knew. Victor stared in disbelief. You knew, and you still let her stay close to you? Damien smiled sadly. Because every day after that, I kept hoping she'd choose me instead. Aria completely broke down. I'm sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. I tried to leave. I tried to warn you. I love you. I really do. Victor rolled his eyes. Enough. He raised his gun. Kill them both. The warehouse erupted into chaos. Bullets shattered windows. Wood splintered. Smoke filled the air. Damien grabbed Aria's hand. Stay behind me. He fired once, twice, 3 times, each shot dropping another attacker. Victor's men surrounded them. There were too many. Then one gunman appeared behind Aria. Damien saw him first. His eyes widened. Aria! A single gunshot echoed. 1 shot, 1 second, 1 choice. Damien threw himself forward. The bullet meant for Aria buried itself deep in his chest. Everything became silent. Damien staggered, then collapsed into her arms. No, Aria screamed. No, please. Blood covered her hands, her clothes, her heart. Damien smiled weakly. Even then, he smiled. You, he struggled to breathe, were the best thing that ever happened to me. Aria sobbed uncontrollably. Please don't leave me. We can fix this. We still have time. Damien slowly lifted one trembling hand. He gently touched her cheek, just like he always did. I wish, he whispered, we'd met differently. Fresh tears rolled down both their faces. Aria whispered, so do I. His breathing became weaker. His eyes never left hers. In another life. His hand slowly slipped from her face, falling lifelessly beside him. Damien Valmont was gone. Police sirens echoed outside. Victor tried to escape. He never made it. Dozens of officers stormed the warehouse. Victor Ashcroft was arrested at the scene, handcuffed, defeated. His criminal empire collapsed within weeks. Every illegal business was dismantled. Every hidden account was seized. The man who believed fear made him powerful would spend the rest of his life behind prison walls, without the possibility of parole. 1 year later, the city had finally found peace, but Aria never truly healed. Every Sunday, she visited the cemetery, always carrying a single white rose, always stopping before the same headstone. Damien Valmont, beloved, remembered, never forgotten. She gently placed the flower down, then sat beside him, just like she had every week. I finally paid off my debts, a faint smile. My brother is healthy now. He asks about you all the time. Tears slowly filled her eyes. She whispered, I'd give everything I own, just to hear your voice one more time. The wind carried her words away, leaving only silence, and two hearts that never got their happy ending. The end.